Up guys, it's Kev. This is my 1994 GT Talera that I just built. So I picked this bike up for $30 on Facebook Marketplace. I've actually been looking for another 90s mountain bike to build up for a couple of months now. I have a 1989 Diamondback Apex that I have built up, and I love that bike. It's built up very Rivendell-esque with swept back bars, friction shifters. I love that bike a lot, but it's really built up to be loaded up with stuff and a lot of gear on it, and kind of carrying things, kind of like a touring style build. And I was really looking for another commuter bike that was a little sportier, a little bit lighter, and a bike I kind of just pick up and ride when I didn't have to carry a bunch of stuff. So I picked this bike up, and I think the person who was selling it was doing some sort of spring cleaning thing because there was like three other people there, and there was like winter tires, and I think she was even selling a car. But anyways, I guess she was saying that there was a lot of people that were asking for this, so I'm pretty happy to have been able to pick this up. In terms of the parts are all Partsman stuff, and I'll get into it over the build, but it's an Advent drivetrain, 1x9, just some random BMX style bars, some older Shimano, I think it's DX Dior cantilevers, and these chrome egg pedals I got from my neighbor. I fixed his bike up and he wanted me to swap the pedals and didn't want these anymore, so threw them on this build. I also have some old Ritchie rims, laced Dior LX hubs that were originally 7 speed, and I swapped out the free hub body for 8, 9, 10, 11 speed free hub body, and I've run this wheel set on a couple bikes. It's been awesome. I will say the only other part that I'm looking to swap out at this point is just the tires. These are just, kind of random commuter style tires. They're 26 by 1.9 with kind of like a smooth tread for pavement. And they're honestly totally fine, but there's a lot of clearance on this bike, so I'd really like to try maybe some Maxxis DTHs in like 2.3. I think that should fit, and then I think that would just really tie this whole build together. But with all that said, we're gonna hop over to the build video now. So hope you enjoyed the build of this 1994 GT Talera. So here's what we started out with. As you can see, it's in really good condition overall. There's obviously quite a bit of rust, but all the brakes worked, the shifters worked, and there was only a couple weird stains on the top tube and a couple dings here and there. Here's a look at the handlebars, again, rusted up, but still working totally fine, so we just start tearing things down. Here I am getting the levers off and the old grips off, the old handlebars, taking the wheel off and getting this kickstand off and the old drivetrain taken apart. I was a little bit worried about this quill stem being seized, just given how much rust there was on the top, but luckily I just undo the bolt and the thing basically just pops out. I was pretty amazed. You can see me kind of tug at it, expecting it to be stuck, and it just falls out, so I was pretty stoked. Here I am getting the old crankset off. Unfortunately it's riveted, so I can't reuse it to do the 1x conversion, but the quill stem coming out easily gives me lots of hope for this to come out easily, and as you can see, it comes right out. Now I'm onto the bottom bracket. Again, everything on here was pretty easy. I got pretty lucky with nothing being too seized or too hard to get out. This bottom bracket's pretty rusty here, but I was gonna replace the bottom bracket, so it's no sweat anyways. This is the bike all taken apart. Minus the rust and a little bit of dust, it's in really, really good shape. So I take it into the garage and just finish getting it cleaned up, and it cleaned up really, really nicely. I end up spraying a little bit of penetrating oil in all the bottle bosses and the head tube and stuff just to hopefully prevent some rust. And there's a couple of little scuffs on the head tube, I think either from some cables rubbing or something, so here I am just using a little bit of automotive polish, and it doesn't get everything off, but I think it looks a lot better than it did before. So it's the next day, and I'm giving it just another light once over with automotive polish. Because it's abrasive, you don't want to go too crazy with this, but it does help get rid of some of the smaller scratches and scuffs that are on the frame. This is Rust Converter. It basically converts the rust into like a black surface that you can paint over. I'm just using this to prevent some of the rust from spreading. The last thing I use is this automotive wax, and this stuff is awesome for waterproofing the frame and also bringing back a lot of the original shine of the clear coat. So you can see it kind of dries a little bit hazy, and then you buff it off, and it really kind of just brings the whole finish of the bike alive, and I think it looks really, really sick at this point. The headset was not feeling so hot at this point, so I just take it apart and re-grease it. I didn't need to replace the bearings at all, but, you know, after 30 years of just kind of sitting around, it definitely needed some new grease, so just use a little bit of WD-40 to clean it off. I also actually rinse it out with a rubbing alcohol after to get all the WD-40 out, then just reassemble with lots of grease, make sure it's all tensioned properly, and then it's pretty much good to go. This is the bar and stem combo I'm using, and I'm using a threadless adapter to make this all work. You also got the cantilever hanger on the adapter as well. And then these are the wheels that I mentioned as well, so Ritchie rims on LX hubs and just some random Commuter tires on there. One thing I noticed about this Sunrace cassette that came with the Advent group set is that it requires a really wide spacer on the back to go on an 8-speed free hub body, so makes me think you could run it on a 7-speed, but let me know if you've ever tried that in the comments. Here's some more of the parts that I'm throwing on. This is just a regular Shimano bottom bracket I got on another bike. I tried these Sagino cranks at first, and unfortunately they just don't really line up with the chainstays, so you'll see I swapped those out. Some really cool Diacomp kind of full finger levers. That's the Advent derailleur you saw earlier, and the shifter. And these are the DX brakes. So here's the bottom bracket going in. It's a 68mm shell with a 113 spindle. I used this bottom bracket to try to put those Sagino cranks on that I had, but no matter what width the bottom bracket I used, I tried a couple, they just wouldn't clear the chainstays. So I end up going for this Shimano set. These are some Dior ones, I think, and these end up working really well. Here's the derailleur all mounted. And then these are the chainring bolts that came with some dry boys. Thought that was pretty funny. So I got the grips and levers on, and then here I am just cabling everything up. One thing about these microshift setups that I really like is that the setup is really easy. So as you can see, as I shift through these gears, has a little bit of trouble getting into these higher gears. I just turn the B screw in a little bit, and after that it shifts perfect. As much as I love canties, I really hate setting them up, so, you know, did the rear brake off camera. Here's the cable routing I did for the rear brake. I personally just went straight to the stop there, but I've heard people putting only a little bit of housing there. Here's the front brake, and I used a V-brake noodle to kind of help with the bend to the cantilever hanger, and as you can see, it worked out really well. The rack I'm using is made by a company called Filzer. This is a rear rack we got from Mech, I think. The reason why I'm using this one is because the fork has forward-facing eyelets, and if you attach a rack down here versus like one of those ones that attaches at the cantilever brakes, I always just feel like they're way more secure. So just making sure everything's level and I have enough clearance from the brake cable and the cantilever hanger. And here I am throwing a basket on. I start with a smaller walled 137 basket, but I end up going for a bigger 139 that I had laying around, which seemed to just fit the rack better and hold my stuff a little bit more easily. After that, the build's basically done. I throw a couple accessories on there, you know, bottle cage, folding lock just to keep around for when I'm commuting. I did have to change out this old seat clamp just for a bolt one. I think on a Commuter just makes sense. And that's the build. Super happy with how it turned out. Been riding it around a lot, been having a lot of fun. So enjoy a couple clips.
Bay Area, come and find me. come in this big old world. I guess I've got to get used to floating, bumping, changing cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much the build. Hope you guys enjoyed. Got lots of other videos planned, so stay tuned for those. Thanks.